Good morning, everybody. So let's get ready to get going here. Let me just drop this link in a couple spots and we can get going. And then we're ready to rock and roll. A lot to go over today. From my perspective, I'm kind of happy with how we're opening. Let me just start there. I like this action. And I like what I'm seeing with the action that's going on. So I think that is something that we just really need to focus on. I think that you want to see a day where you don't open up so much. Okay, you don't want to have every day where it's just a gap up, right? You want to have days where you're in a position where you're going to like digest what happened. So if the tech goes down a little bit today, it's probably a buy, but we're going to have to just kind of watch it and be kind of careful and kind of go from there. There's not really another way to say it. I don't think you should be just jumping in, but I do think you're going to hit a point here where this is just going to get really very advantageous to be in this market again, especially semiconductors. I just have that sense of it. So, let's see what happens here, but that's my sense. So let's start getting into a couple names here. And I just want to point this out. You got to watch this wedge line today. If this wedge line breaks, this is going to go. And I think you're going to see a lot of this stuff today where they're going to try and really figure out what's going on. Let me pull up a couple things here. Let's pull up this recently viewed so you can see what I think is just something that's just glaring. And then I'll start taking questions. But you can see right here, 21.7, like you can see where you came to, what we're looking at this morning. Like the VIX is just imploding. I mean, it just completely imploded. I just wanted a lower low, and I got this. So if the VIX implodes, right, and yields go up, right, which they are doing, now we're up here, and yields go up, that means people are selling safer assets and buying riskier assets, and they're not buying puts. So overall, that's great for the market. That's where my head is right now. I mean, I have a lot of stocks I can go over, and we can focus on it, but let's just start taking questions. Hey, Boko, good morning. Good morning. Apple's everybody's hero. Hey, Brandon. So what's interesting about Apple is if you take a look at how we traded Apple, like in the newsletter, every single position got stopped out, even down to where we got stopped out in NVIDIA, right? Didn't really matter because the way that we were looking at it was just like, you know what? That's okay because we're going to put ourselves in a position here where this doesn't really matter. We're just going to stay with these names and we're going to see how they act. Okay. And that's kind of what we did. So what does that mean? Well, to me, it just means that we let them play themselves out. And by letting them play themselves out, we were able to be in this with a lot of positions. I mean, everybody's probably pretty overweighted in Apple right now. And from the trading group, I would think they are. Maybe they're not. But look, this is setting up to go higher. I mean, this pattern here on Apple, just because it's Apple, and don't overthink it. You're breaking out, okay? And this is no different than when UPST did it here, right? It's no different just because it's this name, right? So just keep that in mind. When this pattern happens, it happens, and it can lead to large moves. So I understand that people are like, well, it's Apple. How high can it go? I mean, why can't it be a $10 trillion company? Like, just you have to think a little differently. I think that this could just be a behemoth, as it already is, but it looks like it's just going to be a monster stock for the rest of the year. I don't see any reason for that to change. UPST, do you think the best momentum play to earn throughout the year? No, I don't think it's the best momentum play to play throughout the year. I think it is one that might move higher or it could roll right here. So let's just talk about it. I put it out there in the top 5 and 5 in case we got squeezed again. So you have a bunch of people here, and this is going to give you just a really quick tip that you could learn. So if you can correlate why a stock's going down or what is the trigger that's making the stock go down and what the stock is respecting, per stock. A lot of people say, one thing that I always try to hammer home is stocks have personalities. They trade like the people that trade them, period. So if whoever's in this is watching the 8-day, right? Somebody's watching that 8-day and they're just selling every rally at that 8-day, right? I mean, that's what's happening. You're never closed. And yesterday's the first day you close over it and you bounce off a major support level. And let's just show this level so that we're all on the same page so you can see kind of where you're at, right? Okay, there's a support level, all right, that you're over. So when you start seeing things like this, you need to pay attention. And could it bounce? Yes. I don't think you're getting past this 220.69 anytime soon. I could be wrong. But for me, what we're going to do is we're just going to sit, watch, and wait. And then we're going to figure out what to do with it. But I don't see any reason to put myself in a position here where I need to be concerned. I just don't see it. I think it could bounce, but you're going to make a little money. I don't think you're going back to here anytime soon. Especially if they raise rates, it's going to really affect the company. But I think there's much better plays, Boca. But I think there's a trade there. BA, this is BAs when you want to buy BAs when nobody wants it. Okay, this is the level nobody wants it, right? That's where you buy it. You're kind of buying it in no man's land. I mean, if you let's get rid of these indicators. See, indicators that like this, it doesn't matter what indicator you use, right? If you're in a trendless market, they're pointless, right? I could throw in MACD, right? That's telling you nothing, right? I could throw in RSI. Okay, maybe this can give you some reading, but not really, right? See how they're just flatlining. So when you're in positions like this, I could throw in the cloud. It doesn't matter. You're not getting any real readings. So what I would argue is that until this sorts itself out, there's nothing that you need to be really using as an indicator besides price. And we did this with Taiwan Semi. I'm in the middle here, right? I'm probably not breaking this anytime soon. So you're buying it for 23 points and your stop really is 20 points. So do I really want to do a trade that's 1 for 1? No, I'm looking for huge edges in my trade. I want, 5 to 1, or greater. I mean, that's what I'm looking for. I want huge returns on my investments, or why do them? Keep your risk small. So in other words, Jen, I wouldn't play with it here. I think you're in the middle. TQQ, I think has a lot of potential here. These moves yesterday, you're just gonna have to watch these levels. I really like that you're pulling back this morning on some of the names like NVIDIA. I really do like that. I have a position from trading yesterday from the trading room in that. I hedged it with some puts just in case it came down. But when you see names like that start breaking out again, like Apple hitting highs, look at what the SOX did. I mean, the SOX could just lift the whole market, could just lift the whole NASDAQ. If it's setting up to explode. Here's that upper channel break again. You can see what happened, right? So obviously you had major swings here of 10%, right, in a day. You're going to digest that a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now, with that said, what we need to focus on is what can we do about it? Well, we can take advantage of it. How do we take advantage of it? We find out what's going to move. And you have a wedge line here. You broke that wedge line. Flipping this level right here, okay, gives you another spot to buy. And really all you're looking for is for it to flip here, right? You're looking for this, okay? And then if you flip this, you're probably heading back to here relatively shortly. And what we're looking for is this, right? That would be your next stop. But I think that this has massive potential now based upon yesterday's move. This was huge. This gap up was absolutely huge. And it threw a lot of people off, and the breath was pretty much there all day from the open. But there were only certain sectors that kept getting buying all day. and that was semiconductors. Hey, Robert. ACLS. It looked like it broke the upper trend line. Let's take a look. So here's the upper trend that I have. Let's take a look. Let's see where we're at. So I don't have that happening yet. That's the trend line I have from these peaks. I have you sitting right on it. Could it flip it? Yeah, absolutely it could. I mean, it absolutely could. But you need to see it flip, just like you need to watch the semiconductor or the stocks flip before you get involved with it. But it's not there yet, but you're getting close. And you can see where my points are. Coop puts. Let's take a look. Yeah, I mean, that could definitely work. You're probably paid up. It depends on where you own the puts from. I mean, realistically, this could bounce back up to here. You're really oversold. I mean, you're in a cascading waterfall. Question becomes, how much does that waterfall continue? You have earnings, right? So you have earnings. So let's just walk through this. So you have earnings. The stock goes up after the earnings, and now it comes back down. Yeah, I mean, that could get hit. If you take out that low of yesterday, 167.57, you could wind up taking a hit. But you have to do that. You have to take that out. These wicks would make me feel comfortable being short, but you're gonna have to watch how it plays out. I would not be adding to that there. What's up, Rob? Hey, Oscar. NOV Disney docu. All right, so let's just get this one out of the way. So I know a lot of people are looking at this. JMIA, and I don't really get it. I mean, I understand, but there's so many other, like, I hate to say real companies where you could actually buy something, but like, let's just call them larger cap. I don't know that you're going to ever get through this level anytime soon, the 17 level. You're moving because of what? Because they're based out in Africa and they're spiking there. I think there's a lot of issues there. This is not something I'd be jumping into. Is it good that it's above the 8? Yeah, it's great, but you're going to need to see a little bit more before you get all excited on that name. In regards to Docu just broke down. I mean, Docu's toast. Like, it had the opportunity to do what it needed to do, right? Here's your bar. You can actually, with the way that this is set up, it's actually a bullish harami for those that looked at that video I did. And you flipped right here and you went, right? I mean, this was it. You can just say it. Let me just put it this way so that the numbers aren't in the way, right? So you flipped over and then you came back down and now you're here. That's not something that's interesting to me. And as soon as you break this low, people are going to be like, ugh, it's one of those, and then they're going to blow it out. So it's not something that I would be staying in. I can pull that up and make that even cleaner, but it's not something I would be staying in. What are the other ones, Oscar, that you were asking about? Disney and NOV. So I don't know what NOV is. And yeah, I mean, like, the 8 pointing up is the first sign that you want to see. And when you have when you're basing like this, or you're coming down like this, you want to just start watching these levels, these peaks, and you're getting through them. I mean, that could work. Yeah, I mean, if this can pop over too, that would be good. There's a lot going on there. Good morning, Alberto. So, yeah, let's clean off this other data. So we talked about this the other day. Let me see if I click off these indicators. It'll get rid of all of them. All right, so let's get rid of this. And we can get rid of all these lines for now because there's just too many. And let's just talk about this. So I just anchored a VWAP to the trough. I use anchored VWAPs for this purpose. If you put them at the trough right? And you put them at the peak, you can get a range and you can kind of see that, right? How it respects them. Okay. They're not be all end alls, but it's one tool that you could look at and utilize. But, I don't execute just because it's there. But what's good about this is it tells you that from this trough, the people that are in there are probably done selling, right? And taking that loss or gain. And now the 8-day starting to curl, which is exactly what you want to see. And then you want to get up to that, so you get through that 154, and then you want to see if you can keep pushing. That's really what you want to see happen. So it looks to me like it bottomed. It's the easiest way to say it. So yeah, I think that NVIDIA is just going to explode. I mean, I really do. Any weakness. It just seems to me that the two anointed stocks that are out there are Apple and Apple and NVIDIA. It seems to me that Tesla wants to participate again, and it looks like it might, but that's going to take a little time. I'm going to grab coffee real quick here. Good. Heat the coffee up. All right, let's keep going. So yeah, I do. I think they're over there. Yeah, I think that you could. I think you can, Rob. I like AMAT. I mean, that whole space to me looks like it's on fire. Like this is what you've been waiting for. You've been waiting a year for this, right? And you're finally there. But you got to get above this bar. See this long red nasty bar? You got to get above that. So what you need is you need to get above this, 159, right? Get above that. Get above that bar, you're in great shape. And that can happen. That could happen today, right? Just because you're bidding down, which is actually what I want to do, just because you're bidding down doesn't mean anything. So, you could open, you could sell straight down, and then you can bounce. There's all kinds of things that could happen here. So I don't really see a sense in doing anything. Right now. In regards to selling those, let's go there. BTI, GGB, MTB. Morning, Jordan. I mean, this actually looks decent, for being a smaller name. Yeah, I mean, wow, that you actually did that one day, huh? Yeah, I would just be really careful. But you're going to have to work your way all the way back up there. But that could work. I mean, that looks decent. GGB. I would be paying attention to this one if you got through that level. If you got through the 200-day, maybe you can look at it. But your volume dropped off big time. So your volume just completely and utterly dropped off there. So that's not something that I would be jumping up and down about. And what was the other one? MDB or MBT. Yeah, I wouldn't go near that. That looks like just an outright short. Can you look at PL and change ticker? Just change ticker from DMYQ. Sure. Let's take a look at PL. New change symbol. Yeah, I don't know what they do, or they changed the symbol. They got interest. This looks like it's probably a SPAC. Is that right? So what you need to do is, and what I would be trying to figure out is, what price did the SPAC go off at? Because that's the price that you should be paying for the stock. That's how I would look at it. I mean, other than that, there's not really much to say. You have euphoria and fear. I mean, that's really what you have, right? You have euphoria and you have fear. And you're somewhere in the middle there. The company's got to do something. So, especially if it just started. XBI. So, yeah, I mean, you're just not getting any real love here. I will say this, that if you just clean this up and open this here and look at this, look, See, you're respecting that 8 the whole way down and you didn't do that. That's kind of right. That all of a sudden you're in that position that you're not, you're not below that for the first time in, I don't know, let's just mark it off. So this was the last time. So how many days before you got there? A full month, you were below the 8-day, and now you're not. So that's definitely something that I would focus on. Sure. I like that idea. I mean, that's definitely something to think about. Short-term trade. I mean, I wouldn't go bonkers. Team FTNT click. I mean, you're seeing this trade over and over again, right? The breakdown and then over the 8. I mean, you're seeing that over and over again. And obviously on sell-offs, the first line you're going to go over is the 5 and the 8. Some people use a 3, but if I put a 5 in, you can kind of get it, right? So, I mean, could this work? Yeah, this couldn't work. This could bounce. You're seeing this pattern everywhere, and you'd bounce up to these levels. That's where the bounce would be too. So could that happen? Yeah, absolutely, that could happen. So definitely something to consider. So I don't see a reason to buy calls today yet on that. I actually went in with puts overnight just in case it sells down and then I could buy stock because the puts were so cheap yesterday in comparison to where they've been. But I've just been trading around positions I want to be long and using puts in case we gap down. But it's sometimes just easier than just getting out of the name. So anyway, the reason that I wouldn't do that is I want to see it follow through. Like you have to think about Tesla from this perspective here. Let's talk about it. Okay, first off, everybody plays options because they think it's like a lottery, right? But what you're seeing is a level right here. You came down, you tested, you broke the 50. Clearly, you got bought. Okay. I don't know where you're going with this. I don't know if this is going to continue. I was frankly shocked at how quick we snapped back yesterday. And I'm happy that we did, but so you have to kind of see this has to digest. I still have the 8 and the 21 pointing down, very different than what we just saw here where the 8 is starting to point up, right? So you're not through key levels yet. You have a major trend right here, right? Pointing down. So your trend line's still down here. Your 8 and your 21 crossed. I mean, do I really want to be buying calls directly into that? Probably not. No, I probably don't. So I would tell you to sit and watch and wait. I'll trade around. If it sells down, I'll buy it. But other than that, I would be careful just chasing that right here. I tried to buy it on the breakout yesterday. At the end of the day, I watched this whole trade for an hour. I mean, I watched this trade develop here. I'll show you it. I watched it all day long. I watched this develop, right? All day long, I watched this trade develop because I'm like, you know what? They're going to run this name. And I watched this 1052 level, and then I wanted to get above this to 1054 level. And I'm looking at an hourly, right? So you would think that an hourly, they have a high degree of probability of working. I broke the trend line on the hourly. I broke the higher. I'm not going to get above the higher high and the high of the hourly in the beginning of the trading day. I got over it, closed over it, put a trade on, and it took me out in like 5 minutes. So that's not what you want to see. And that made me, that's why I closed the position and said, maybe I'll cover some puts overnight or own some puts overnight and just see if it comes down and then trade around them. But you got to watch that. Like this is a rejection on an hourly chart. And that's not something you should be crazy about if you're in the name right now. It should give you pause that you could sell down. Do I do futures? I do trade futures. I don't talk about it, I guess is the best way to say it. I don't have that PL, whatever that is. Maybe the system doesn't have it. I don't trade futures through, or I don't look at futures through TrendSpider. Do I trade futures? Yes, I do. I just don't talk about it. RBLX. Not like I can't talk about it. I just choose not to talk about it. There's no cleaner way than buying the NASDAQ or any of the indices than something like that. So let's just go. In the video we just did, let's just do RBLX. So we saw what happened yesterday, right? We saw it try to get over and reject. You know, I'm not a fan of rejection. Not going to lie. So I wouldn't go near that. APPS, yes, I think that APPS. So I like that move yesterday. I mean, this is, look, when you have a 45-degree angle like that, that is just systemic selling by institutions. Okay, retail, which I include myself in retail, we're not that thought. We don't think like that. We panic, we act, right? We have emotions. That's not an emotional sell. That's just every day somebody calling up their broker and saying, yo, sell 100,000 shares. So, you know, every single day, and it's incessant, and you're seeing that. This was the first sign that it stopped. And I actually pointed this out to people a couple of days ago because they were talking about this. Hold on one second. I can get rid of this. But let's just throw this RSI in. And I'd recommend that if you don't know RSI, that you learn it. I did a video on it a little bit ago. I would strongly recommend that you watch it. So here you are in RSI, and then here you are here, and you can see exactly what's going on, right? So there's very little reason to think that that hasn't bottomed, right? Here's my bottom. Here's my undercut. I had to get above this line and this high in order to solidify that this bottom may be in. And I got that yesterday. I'm fighting with that battle in the 21 day, but I like it. I'm way behind. All right, let's get going fast. So here you are with fast, right? To me, I don't see a real reason to do anything here, right? I mean, you kind of broke out, but then you have this like wick where you stopped, and I didn't really do it on great volume. And I got to get, this has to get higher, right? You can see that, right? Like this is where I was last time, and now I'm here, and I broke out. And this one, like this one, you could give a pass to, but now I'm up here. I'd want this to see follow through before I get involved. That RSI would bother me. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but here. And let's just look at the relative volume. Like this breakout, you had huge volume, right? The next one, not so much. So that might be a false move. You might just want to watch that. Affirm. So yeah, I mean, here's your pattern. I mean, we just keep talking about this pattern. We're seeing it everywhere, right? You broke the 8, and now you're closing up over it. That puts the 21 on the table for sure. Yeah, I mean, look, we talked about this. This was the level I had it as a short, right? You opened, you went down, you closed back over your support line. At this point, there's no reason to be in that trade anymore, right? It's busted. And now it reversed, and now you're up here. I mean, could you roll back down again? Sure, because there's still a trend line right here. Right? Still a trend line there. So I would watch that and see how it goes. I really want to pay attention to that. I don't know that I'd be jumping into that, but that could move. But you're welcome, buddy. Yep. Please hit the like button. Thank you. Takes you 2 seconds, and I appreciate it. LWLG. What's up, No You? AOSL. Oh, got some wonky ones in there. Light wave logic. Yeah, I have no idea what they do. Let's throw some indicators in. This is interesting. That's the single greatest buying stocks ever had, right? In how long? Ever? Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That volume's interesting, this. So you're going to see maybe a relative volume spike. Yep, there it is. Some of the highest relative volume it's also ever had. Well, back here it had a ton too. But yeah, I get that. I don't know what space they're in. Here's your levels, and here's what you have to watch. So you have this that you're going to have to watch, right? And you can kind of see from there. And this is actually a really good one to look at anchored VWAP, because you have this huge peak right here. And you throw that in, and you can just see like how every time you broke it, right? You kind of get where this could be useful. So that's your level, and you rejected it so far. Okay. So, and when it rejects those levels, you need to pay attention to it. So if I was in this, I'd be cautious, and that would be my stop. And I would not buy this until I flip and go over it. And AOSL. AOSL. So, yeah, I get that. The breakout, it fails, comes back down, retests 21, closes up. Yeah, that works. I mean, that can work. That can really work and go. I mean, that has massive potential. You have a huge channel here that could get in, and you just have this saucer-like pattern. So absolutely. I like this one. I like this one. It's definitely one I would be looking at. So something to consider. Yeah, I mean, usually look for the absolute peaks. If you want to see if it flipped that, I know what you're talking about, Robert, because it flipped that other one, but now we're up to the main one, right? I just didn't draw the one that you're talking about, but I saw it. So does this look like something you should be rushing into? Probably not. Look, software really ran and really got ahead of itself. Software's not seeing money pour into it right now. Okay. What you're seeing come in, I mean, I wouldn't short it here. I think you've missed, like, I think some guy was talking about shorting it on like Twitter or something. Somebody sent me something. I mean, why am I shorting a stock that's down here that just bounced, right? And could consolidate in here. And what am I going to really get out of it? To here? And you're shorting a really strong company. Right? Like, that's one thing people have to remember. Like, there's a difference between shorting like a new technology, like in a firm, versus shorting like the company that is the most dominant cloud software company out there, right? I mean, this is it. This is pretty much the gold standard. And then you see stuff like this where it's breaking down, and you can't even break into that 30 level. So I wouldn't be shorting this. I don't think I'd be rushing right into it to buy it either. I just leave it alone. Well, I'm kind of curious. What's this cloud do? What's the cloud look like? Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what space you're in. You're in the leave it alone space. So you're in the leave it alone space right now. DOCN. Let's take a look at that. So, yeah, these were all lines that we were trading before. Look, if this can get over this 50, and you can pop over the 8 and this major support and get over the 50, I mean, you can see this could work. And the fact that you see the difference, like, look at the difference. Let me just point this out. See, these averages are going down. These averages are not really heading down. This one's actually starting to curl up again. This one's kind of getting there, right? So, yeah, keep it on your radar. I don't think you're ready for prime time. You're probably just in a basing formation, but it's definitely something that I would look at. Yeah, I mean, you kind of have a little bit of a sell or a buy signal yesterday. Watch how it plays out. I mean, it could bounce. Getting over 50 could be the key for that. So, good morning, Swing. So I am not a big fan of RBLX as a metaverse play, because I think that their demographic is too young. So I'm not a huge fan of it from that perspective. I'm not saying that what I'm saying makes sense. I'm just telling you that I'm not a huge fan of it from that perspective. They are the only people that held a virtual concert and had 100-something thousand people go to it. I just look at Playboy as a much cleaner alternative that also gets you into the NFT space. And the NFT space is real. Like, that's not going away. That space is not going to go away. And they could be a really dominant player in it. So it's definitely something to consider. MTTR, look, it's all hype, and you trade the hype and you watch your levels. I don't know how they're going to change the metaverse. I don't see people putting these goggles on right now and sitting down. This is years away. This is like when 3D printing spiked, right? And so now you kind of have to look who the players are. So to me, the one reason I really liked Playboy was because it gets me in two different hot areas, and one of those areas is already developed. So I have that group. Fundamentally, I like that more. And I think that I'm just going to go through it. I think this is just toast. Nobody is, after what happened with Facebook, nobody is going to give this guy access to the metaverse. The amount of delusion there is just, because it went so well with him being in charge of social media. It's just not going to happen. So I don't know how they rebrand or what they do, but to me, any rally up on this is just a short. You can see the 50-day. I'm not the only one that feels that way. But out of the ones you gave me, Swing, this is the one that I'd be looking at the most. And you can kind of see where you have these rejections and a little wedge line there, and you're kind of bouncing around right over supports, and you're just building, right? This is not going down. It's just building and bouncing around. Nothing to do. So, and let's go SON, SOXL. SOXL I like a lot. I think that this is going to be the dominant field. I mean, I'm just waiting. Like here, let me just pull this down. You can see the line right here, your trend line. I'm just waiting to see if it flips. So, and then we'll go from there. But I'm just waiting to see if that can actually flip. Asan, the software names I'd be really careful with. You didn't really see that bounce, did you, in the software names yesterday? You saw a little bit of a bounce. It got people a little giddy, but not like you saw in semiconductors. And look at this. Like, you certainly didn't see that semiconductor volume in software yesterday. So that should tell you a little bit about where people are placing their bets, or, and that's what you want to focus on. Where are people placing their bets? So GME and the earnings. I mean, the earnings aren't really the issue. The issue becomes, do people cover? Do people not cover? And that's what we need to focus on. So you're going to have to just kind of see, also share this. Let people know that we do this every morning. The more people we get in here, the more ideas we get. So, frankly, this isn't on my radar right now. Here's your downward trend line. You bounced off of that downward trend line. And that's why I like leaving these in sometimes, because you can just see. So now the question becomes, what do you do now? I don't see any reason to do anything. Could it go up on earnings? Sure. Could it go down on earnings? Sure. Like, you can do whatever the heck it wants, right? I mean, depends on how they want to trade it. So there's very few shares outstanding. And essentially what they do is, you have retail knocking it around, and then institutions come in and then knock down retail. I mean, that's what's happened here. I actually bought that for a quick trade. It didn't work. But, I thought when you got above this that we could really go, and it just didn't happen. IIPR. Hey, Laura. Yeah, I mean, I could see this working. This is usually where you buy it, right around the 50-day. If you have a long-term outlook and you see how you're flipping this level, yeah, I mean, that could totally work. Yeah, I mean, I like that. That can work. So let me just show you this again. Let me just look at something. Yeah, I do. I like that a lot. So I think that could be something. You have a huge channel here, right? Let me just show you this. This is the older channel, and you're above it again, right? Usually when you break these channels, right, you don't break them. You go to the 21-day. This time we went to the 50. Now we're up here. There's a little resistance, but if you flip this, you can get to the top of this. You could see 300 on this. It's probably heading there, frankly. So probably where it's going. I mean, look, that space is just going to get bigger and bigger. That's not going to stop. RBLX we covered, Brian. Hope that you saw it. Hey, Ashish. So I mean, here's the whole thing about it. Yeah, I look at a bunch of stuff, and some of the things that I'm looking at are this. So let's just start here. Okay, let's go through it index by index really cleanly. Okay, so I look at a bunch of indicators. I don't get into all of them here, but the fact that we broke the 50 was a sell signal. That got negated when you pop back over this line. Okay, that's one area. On the Qs, you held the 50-day, so you should be paying attention to that, right? Here was your major support, okay, and you held. That was another sign that your sell signals aren't going to be there. Okay, I use another one. It's proprietary. I don't even think I have it on this system. This gave a sell signal here, which negated, right? I'm not going to get into it, but it gave a sell signal there. I know it looks garbly, but it's not. And then we negated that sell signal. So what do I have on the Qs is, let's clean all this up. So what I have on the Qs is I have 3 sell signals that negated yesterday. So if I have my sell signals negated, okay, then I could either base or go higher is where my head goes. Yeah, right? I don't know what's going to happen, but I can base or go higher. The healthiest thing for the market would be to go flat today and digest this move. That would be the healthiest thing. And I'm not sure that we're going to do that. So we're going to have to see how that plays out. But that would be the absolute healthiest thing that could happen. So we're going to have to play that out and see how it goes. Now, with that said, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. But for now, I am in a position where I think we digest this a little bit. I'm hoping that's what happens. Let me rephrase that. Yeah, I mean, you can short it again. I didn't. It's not enough meat on the bone for me. You went to the top level. We talked about this level, right? I don't know why I got this going so far back. I must have it on a weekly for some reason. Yeah, so, I mean, there you're on the weekly, right? Support becomes what? Resistance, bonk, right? So you can, my issue with it is what really got me and why I'm not that emphatic about shorting it here. I really wanted it to break this and go into the teens. That's not what happened. That doesn't mean that I can't roll and break again, but I want that roll and break again to happen. If not, I think you can get to 165. That could absolutely happen. Hold on one second. I'm going to make this way too garbled to confuse the heck out of everybody if I leave these on. The fact that this is rolling again would be troublesome if I was long. But you see where you're at right now? See what's happening? You couldn't even stay above the 8-day. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why somebody would look at this and stay short. I should put a caveat out there with what you're asking me. I'm always short BABA at this point. I have a position in it from before, and I'm just not going to cover it. I'm just going to leave it on. So, but for my trading positions, I covered when we went up. The fact that you went up on a CFO resignation means that you could really bounce. You know what? It's 9:16. I'm going to have to jump to the front of this and run through these because I really have to make sure that I'm there today. There's a lot going on. Yeah, Mark, you could sell puts on it. I mean, look, I'm going to tell you right now, I've been on both sides of that, selling options left and right yesterday, especially when the VIX collapsed. But watch the VIX first before you do that, because if the VIX spikes today, like let's say we sell down and the VIX spikes, right? You're going to get hammered on what you sell, even if the trade goes in your favor. You want the VIX to collapse like it did yesterday. Like yesterday was a great day to just keep selling puts and calls all day long because you're just getting that premium right out. Worked great. It actually worked great for me. But that's something you have to think about, right, and pay attention to. SPG. I mean, if I want to be in this space, truthfully, if I want to be in that space, the REIT space, this is the stock to buy. This is growing. People are not going to the malls. They're not going to go back to the big malls. You're going to have some malls. You're going to have these regional strip malls. I mean, that's what we're saying. So it could work on a yield basis. Roku. Oh, that's cool. I'm glad they worked that out. I don't know what it'll do for it. They seem to be having some other issues. Looks like it's moving it. That's good. So, I mean, just watch that 21 day. Just watch the 21 day. That can work. Roku could come back. That's not my kind of trade. I don't have that level of patience. You have to buy this and be willing to sit with this for a year here. As it develops, comes back down, develops. That's not who I am. So yeah, that is good news. Hey, John, let me just do Beyond and CHPT, and then I'm going to have to jump here, everybody. Please subscribe, because sometimes I start late and you want to be notified. Or if you find value in it, you want to be notified. If you don't, then don't subscribe. Yeah, I wouldn't go near this. I mean, it's just garbage. I mean, could you bounce here? Yeah, you could, but there's so many alternatives and so many people are doing their own burgers. The question that I saw that was pertinent, would I buy this? No, this is not my kind of trade. Even on this news, maybe if I see a squeeze, I would. Maybe I could play it for a squeeze for like a day or two, but that's really it. Other than that, I have no interest. ETHE. Yeah, I mean, I still like it. I have a caveat. I have a position in Ethereum. I like it. I think it's the strongest of the two names. I think that this is going to grossly outperform Bitcoin. I've been pretty vocal about that. Buying RH into earnings, you might as well just go to a casino. I don't even need to look at the chart. Go look at the last couple times what happened with RH in the earnings. I mean, it's, you might as well just go to a casino and put money on red or black. Like, you have no idea what's going to happen. Maybe it's up 100 points. Maybe it's down 100 points. You're just gambling. Yeah, the fact that Josh Brown bought it makes me more uncomfortable. But I like it. I like it a lot. And I think it's grossly still misunderstood. So if you believe in NFTs, right? If you truly believe in NFTs, their library is probably one of the largest libraries in the world for NFTs. And I don't think people truly grasp that. They're buying someone comes out and draws an ape and they're buying that one. You haven't seen anything yet to how that could work. So, yeah, PayPal may bounce here. Let me do PayPal, and then I'm going to have to jump everybody. So, proceed with caution today. But I think that we look good, and I would look at adding, to the leaders that we went over today. Yeah, watch that 21 day. I have to go. Everybody, have a great day. Thanks, Shane. Path, earnings at close. Thank you. Appreciate that. CHPT, I did say I'd do that one. Sorry, everybody. Looks like I'm staying for one more. I need a data feed or like a moderator to just throw the symbols out to me. You got to watch that level. You have to hold that level and then go from there. I mean, you came out with earnings and it didn't really move. So maybe it'll stabilize. I mean, the infrastructure move's dead. So, all right, I got to go. Everybody, trade sharp. Have a great day.